Welcome to the Metal Cell podcast, and that was a fantastic track to kickstart your day or night or whatever time you're listening to the show. That was Dirty Power with Oh God, which will be released on the 2nd of April at 5 p.m. So the video looks pretty cool. I just saw a clip of it there, and of course it's featuring gorillas in suits. Who doesn't like gorillas? I always think back to that fantastic Baylor video as well, with the lads hammering around on skateboards in gorilla suits. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. So shout out to Brendan, who's the singer and guitarist, Marique on bass, and Jerry on drums. The last time they played Cork was February this year with Audible Joe's and Factotem. I think they could be working on a new material in relation to an EP or an album. Just keep an eye on their stuff. You can find all their news on Dirty Power on Facebook, and they also have a website, www.dirtypower.com. There's a hyphen in between the dirty and the power, and they also have a Bandcamp page as well. And if you went there, you will see that they released another album in 2018 called Notions. You could describe Dirty Power is probably loaded with heavy rock riffs and big grooves and sing-along choruses, I would say. Interestingly enough, they were formed in 2013, so they've been around quite a long time. And Brendan emailed me to say that there was an actual instrument prelude to the song which I played there, and they came up with that on the day in the studio. So that's pretty cool. So best of luck, lads, and thanks for sending that on to me. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Trevor and Cranium Titanium for hosting the Irish Metal Pole Awards. Something that we all needed, really. We miss metal so much, live gigs, etc. So it was a joy to watch Trevor, and he did a fantastic job hosting those awards and giving us all something positive. He also wanted to thank as well Dee Flynn of 7/8 Creations for the awesome shirts designed for all the awards. The show is up still if you want to view it on Cranium Titanium, the Facebook site. If you don't know the winners, I'm just going to call them out there quickly. So Band of the Year was a tie, and it was Conjuring Fate and Arjun As I. Lads, both bands are terrific. Simple as that. Really professional. And both bands have terrific merchandising and great albums out, which leads me nicely along to Album of the Year. And that was a really tough category to come out of. And Conjuring Fate, Curse of the Fallen won it. Fantastic. Well done there, lads. Next EP of the year, great pals of the show, Grey Stag, The Boats. So congratulations there, lads. Single of the year, there was a lot of competition for this. I thought myself Hunting Ground by 10 Ton Slug would win it, but Conjuring Fate came in again with No Escape. Great single, great video. Well done, lads. So that was 3 in a row. So everybody was wondering, could they possibly get a 4th one? And sure enough, they did. So album artwork of the year was Conjuring Fate, Curse of the Fallen, and it featured Kym Horner, who did the design and concept artwork for it, and it is brilliant. Kym is on later on in the show talking about that. Well done, fantastic stuff. Media site of the year went to Overdrive. Well done, Oren. Festival of the year naturally went to Siege of Limerick. Congratulations, John and Kieran. Promoter of the year went to DME Promotions, which is H and Walter, also known as Pete. Fantastic stuff there, lads. Venue of the year, Fibber McGee's. Again, you just hope sooner rather than later we'll see live acts playing in Fibbers. And for international release of the year was Slipknot. Less said the better. And last but certainly not least, the award for Radio Show Podcast of the Year was a 2-way tie. In at first place was Ian's Rebel Radio on Phoenix FM and my show, The Metal Cell Podcast. It was really cool actually because Ellie, Ruben and Helen arrived in when Trev was going through the nominees for that category, and to come in at number 1 which surrounded by my family was just a really, really lovely moment, and they deserve huge amount of thanks. Ruben for doing all the draws with me, and Helen for understanding the time it takes to do this show. I also want to thank my co-hosts Jack, Evan and Danielle, Alex from Las Vinci, and everybody else that gave me advice throughout the year. I can't name you all. I'll just Andy Clark especially. I'll definitely give a shout out to Andy Clark, and also Rich Embry over in Pure Rock Radio for having me on his roster of shows, and I get one out to him every Thursday without fail. So yeah, delighted with the award. All the nominees do a great job spreading the word of Irish metal, and thanks to everybody that appeared on the show as well. And we move on. So Bad Reputation have come good and given us something to be cheerful about. Yes, on August the 29th, intriguingly titled 13 Candles, Blood Incantation from America, CZLT, Malthusian, Zealot Cult and Galloc are all coming to play in Dolan's in Limerick. So that's a fantastic lineup, and it definitely will be a very special night. So tickets are $20, and the sale date has to be confirmed naturally enough. In other news, following their critically acclaimed album Pyres, which was released last summer, Dundalk-based contemporary metal crew Words That Burn have struck a deal with UK and EU booking agency Empire Music. So well done to Ronnie and the lads for that. Empire Music have released a little spiel, and it says, Empire Music is pleased to welcome Words That Burn to the roster for UK Europe bookings. I feel that we are going to make a great future ahead of each other's partnership, and we can't wait to show what we're working on together behind the scenes. So well done everybody involved in that deal, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more about it in the future. It'll definitely open a bigger market for Words That Burn, definitely in relation to the UK and Europe. I also want to give a big shout out to Paranoid Beast Promotions, Mark Morrissey and Con Doyle. They have 10 hours of original Irish heavy music available on their Bandcamp page. So there is 7 compilations ready for you to purchase and download, and you can actually name your own price to download the compilations. So the whole idea behind it is basically to fundraise money to put towards future vinyl releases of bands from the Irish heavy metal underground and beyond. And I just want to quickly run through the compilation. So Volume 1 is The Birth of the Beast. Volume 2 is The Evil Eye of Doom. Volume 3 is Hymns to the Morrigan. Volume 4 is Sonic Visions of the Gale. Volume 5 is Dawn of the Dagda. Volume 6 is Pagan Rites to Crom Cruach. And Volume 7 is Crom Cruach Rising. So as I said, 10 hours of music in there, and be sure to check it out on Paranoid Beast Bandcamp page. So after all that news, I think we should have some music. And it is a new band called Witch Kicker, and these girls know how to kick ass. This is their new single called Nature, Nurture or Resent. Enjoy.
1, 2, 3, go!
Take your staring at a screen, so fucking fake it's almost real.
indeed. That was Witch Kicker with their brand new single Nature, Nurture and Resent. Anyone thinking of of Guns N' Roses, early 90s, sleazy rock venues, you could get that kind of buzz about Witch Kicker, that you'd probably find them there playing support to Motley Crue, that whole LA gun scene. Yeah, I really love that sound and that riff. Wow. Great stuff, girls. For those that don't know much about them, they're a brand new band. They were formed in October 2019. They're an all-female metal quartet based in Dublin City. So they're saying that they were inspired by the likes of Deftones, Rush, Gojira and King's X. I'm hearing other stuff as well coming through. The single was recorded at Tracksmix Studios in Dublin by Josh Sid Robinson. So that track is there on Spotify, and it is also on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. So it's called Nature, Nurture or Resent. So the girls were supposed to play The Gathering, and of course, unfortunately, that was cancelled. But they do have a good few gigs behind them. They've played for Sectile's album launch, which was on the 28th of February this year in the Grand Social. They've played Limelight in Belfast and went down a storm, Fibbers in Dublin, and Pharmacia in Limerick as well, would you believe? So shout out to Laura, Mo, Debbie and Carly. And that is a great track, girls. Just wish you nothing but success. And of course there's no gigs coming up in the foreseeable future for people to check out Witch Kicker unless they do a Facebook live broadcast. That mightn't be a bad option, and showcase some new music by them. What I think is mad as well is that we went to a gig, as in the East Cork Metal Militia, as we like to call ourselves. We went to see Testament, Exodus and Death Angel up in the National Stadium, and since then the drummer of Death Angel has COVID-19, and I think Chuck Billy, the singer, also has contracted it, and Gary Holt, who, as you all know, is the guitarist with Exodus and up to maybe 2 or 3 months back, Slayer. So Gary got it as well, and me and Gary go back a long way, and here's a story to cheer ye up at my expense. So many moons ago, I think it was November 2005 in the Crushkeen Lawn in Cork. Exodus were playing with Flatline and Sirocco. Shout out to Jim of Sirocco. And we were, myself and Timmy and a few other lads, we were all in this tiny packed venue, and we were literally overheating in there. It was crazy. And Exodus were playing there. I suppose the Crushkeen Lawn would hold maybe 100 people max. So that'll give you an idea of the size of the venue. So of course we were up at the front. I don't think there was a barrier there. And if there was, no, I don't think there was a barrier there. The stage was probably maybe 3 foot high, and there was monitors maybe pushed in front to keep us from landing on top of the band. Rob Jukes was the front man back then with Exodus, and I think it was the shovel-headed Kill Machine tour. It's one of those legendary gigs, basically, for us all that were there. I think now at this stage there's probably 500 people saying that they were there. But so they played a killer set, and I can't believe I'm telling the story, but anyway, so the band, stopped. There was high fives for everybody that was closest to them, and then they kind of had to go off to the side, which was down by the men's toilets. So we all headed to the bar, and we just waited and watched, myself and Timmy, to see if we could catch Gary Holt. And sure enough, he started coming through the crowd, and eventually he made his way towards us. And Timmy was first up, and shook him by the hand. saying, great gig, Gary, fantastic, love the new album and such. So I was just patiently waiting in the background for my chance. And sure enough, he came up and I shook his hand. And you must remember now as well that we were fairly drunk and I was looking for a different angle completely, because my daughter was probably 4 years old and at the time, and I was just thinking, because I read some article about Gary Holt, it's talking about his daughters, so I thought that would be a good angle to say something stupid, which I definitely achieved, because as I was shaking his hand, and saying great gig, I just went, so Gary, how's the wife and kids, and he looked at me and I just went again, so how are the wife and kids, and he just pulled his hand back and goes, what the fuck is your problem? And Timmy heard this and was just looking at me going, what are you fucking saying? And I just went, Jesus, I'm only asking a question. And Gary just looked at me and he goes, fuck you, man. I'm just after getting divorced and you asked me about my wife and kids. And just fucking walked past me, kind of half-shouldered me, walking past. And then just fucking anybody else that was waiting just got the fucking daggers, and he just made just a beeline straight for the fucking tour bus and just stayed in the tour bus. And I'm sure all the band members probably got it as well off him. And I got it off Timmy going, what the fuck made you say that to him? And it was just me, again, being a fucking nerd, just having to over-research something on somebody and trying to connect with somebody as well, a father of a daughter. But no matter what I say, even on this podcast, I can't get out of that fact that I fucked up. So if Gary is listening out there, apologies, Gary, and I hope you get well soon. So the main part of the show is about art and t-shirts, and I'm delighted to hand over first of all to Kym Horner. And as I said, Kym got an award for her great work that she did on Conjuring Fate's album cover, Curse of the Fallen. She gives a great insight into the whole concept of the work that she puts into Conjuring Fate, and she also has done work with Skypilot as well. So over to you, Kym.
Hey, I'm Kym Horner, and I recently won Best Artwork in the Irish Metal Poll Awards for Conjuring Fate's new album, Curse of the Fallen. And just want to say as well, congratulations to Richie and the Metal Cell podcast for winning Best Radio Show. So I've been doing graphic design for about 13 years now as part of my day job and as part of my hobby, which is creating artwork for metal bands here in Northern Ireland. As I'm not in a band myself, I've always wanted to be able to help and support the bands in the local scene. I initially did a bit of band photography back in the day, but realised my strengths actually lay in designing artwork for CDs, posters, merchandise, etc. So Conjuring Fate, I've worked with the band since 2006, and the main reason for that is that I'm actually married to the band's guitarist, Phil Horner. So for the band, I've designed 3 album covers, 5 t-shirt designs, and a host of other merchandise. The band have worked so hard over the years, building up a great following, and of course getting the record contract with Pure Steel Records in 2017. I think the guys and I have both worked really well together over this time to create a really strong and consistent brand. I take influence from the likes of Halloween and Mob Rules album covers. The drummer of Mob Rules, Nicholas, actually designs their artworks, and I'm a big fan of his work, especially the album Tales from Beyond. So the process that goes into creating artwork usually starts with listening to the band's material and going through their lyrics so I can pick out possible ideas for themes. I'll also talk with the band themselves, getting their thoughts. And from there, then I usually mock up a cover concept and see what the band think, which in most cases, they're usually pretty happy with what I've come up with. From there, I'll proceed with creating the high resolution version of the cover. Then, using the visual concept I've come up with, I'll adapt this to carry it on throughout the inner booklet, the disc itself, and the tray artwork. I'll also ask the band to fire me through everything they have: logos, lyrics, thanks, social media handles, and band photography. So once we're all happy with everything, I'll send the band the print-ready artwork, and then they'll get it off to print and duplication. I love getting new projects to work on, and I love researching different themes and coming up with a visual concept that reflects the style of the band I'm working with. I've recently worked with bands such as Sky Pilot, So Long Until a Seance, and Roscoe's Riot. I've actually done 2 CDs now for Sky Pilot, and their latest, The Affront, is one of my favourite artwork pieces to date. It's kind of a pop art atomic age theme, which is really up my street. So that's it, really. Thanks to Trevor for organising the awards, and huge thanks to everyone who voted for myself and Conjuring Fate. The band also won 3 other awards in the Irish Metal Poll Awards. It really means so much to us right now, especially with how crap things are at the moment in 2020. Anyway, thanks again. Stay safe, everyone. And if you're really bored, check out Kym Horner Design on Facebook.
So thanks a million, Kym, for that. Check out all her stuff. Like, it's really different. I mean, the Sky Pilot one is certainly completely different to the Conjuring Fate one, and she also has done a really cool one again for Roscoe's Riot. I'm delighted she got the award. I think it's early days. I don't even think we've seen the best of her work yet. So, best of luck, Kym, and thanks for appearing on the show. Moving on to another incredible artist and someone that we love having on the show is Colin Bolger. There's like loads of examples that you could use in Colin's work, and I was at his art exhibition, which was a huge success, and one of my favourite designs he did was appeared on a t-shirt and an EP by Grey Stag called the Guide EP. The t-shirt is iconic. There's no other way to describe it. It's one of the most recognisable Irish metal t-shirts out there. And again, I contacted Colin to see if he would just give us a few insights into the whole design of the t-shirt and what was his thinking behind it. So over to you, Colin.
Hello, fellow metalheads in Ireland and across the world. Richie's asked me to give a little breakdown on the process that went into making the first Grey Stag design I did for their EP, The Guide. I suppose I follow a similar process for most of my artwork, especially when it comes to creating something for a band. Usually I'll ask them for as much content as they can give me, be it lyrics, perhaps they have the album or the EP recorded and they can send that to me initially, which is great. Grey Stag are great for that, actually. If not, demos, pre-production demos, anything, images of album covers that they like, colour schemes that they're fond of, anything like that, even symbolism that maybe is important to them as a band, something from their practice space that I can work in, anything. I feel the substance is what makes images come to life, whether or not you know the substance that was put into it by the artist or the people involved in creating it. So I just love that side of things, collecting all the information. So yeah, when it came to the guys, Matt is, I believe the lyricist for the most part. He is very visual. Me and him, I think, have similar ways of using words in a metaphorical sense to create a cool environment for a song to live in. So yeah, I just went through the lyrics. There was a lot to do with hunting, to do with wolves, to do with the gnarly organic side of that beastly vibe that you're trying to get across with music. So I obviously said I'd play on that. The Heart of Gold stood out big time as well, so I figured that would be the centerpiece in a lot of ways, and it would act as somewhat of a logo or the insignia that would carry the visuals of the EP forward, and the lads kind of took that and went with it, which was great. So yeah, overall it was a pleasure to create. I just wanted to get something, I wanted to get that mood across. Like, this music for the most part is dealing with the frustration in life or misgivings or failing yourself or others failing you or you failing others, whatever the negative things that are going on in your life or the negative cycles that you're trying to break out of, heavy metal music is a cathartic way of breaking down those barriers. So I try to do that with the image where the guy in it looks upset. He doesn't look too happy with what's going on, but he's got all these powerful animals around him, and he's got a look of determination inside all of that darkness that he's dealing with. Personal stuff as well that you put into your art to try and break free from those thought patterns. That's pretty much the thought process. The only other thing that I feel we're mentioning is when it comes to the colouring. Sometimes you want to have a simple colour palette, and that's very hard to do. And even with this, I actually spent a load of time colouring it in full colour, and then I just realised that it was just taking away from it. And I kind of wasn't allowing myself to use grey. And then when it was all coming down to it, I was like, I have to. It makes perfect sense. And the grey and the gold, just simple, striking, strong. I'm so happy with how popular that t-shirt and overall merch design came out for the guys. They had me work on their second EP, which is cracking. You should just check out the guys. Whatever you're doing, just stop, listen to the guys. They really deserve your attention. And big shout out to Richie for creating this amazing forum for people to talk and express how they feel and the history that they've experienced in the metal scene in Ireland and abroad and wherever it may be. I think you're all legends, and I'm just absolutely delighted to be a part of it in any way I can. It's a crazy time right now. Hope everyone's safe. We're all going to miss the riffs, but I think everybody that has a guitar is at home writing more. So really, really looking forward to getting back gigging, and truly hope that you guys are safe. All right, take it easy.
Thanks for that, Colin. There's certainly loads to take away from the short clip that Colin gave us there in relation to Grey Stags, the Guide EP. It's fascinating stuff. So there you have it. He was working with the lyrics that Matt gave him, the darkness of the hunter, that inside all that darkness that he's dealing with by surrounding him with animals. It gives him this determination and find some positivity through it all. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And also with Colin working with the colours as well, sometimes less is more, and him just settling on the grey and the gold. Yeah, brilliant. It leads us nicely into another artist that worked with Colin in designing the new Zahora album Mortals, and that person is James Sheridan. Haven't seen a lot of James's work. Again, he's another artist that you feel his best work is ahead of him. So I'll just let James give you his whole story, his background, and see what you make out of it. So over to James.
Hey, my name is James Sheridan, aka Dead X Actress on Instagram, and I'm an artist currently living in Galway, Ireland, and I've been creating artwork for different bands around the country for the past 10 years or so. I was born in New York. I grew up on Long Island, where I had a pretty normal childhood. My mom, my sister, and we moved around a bit. But I used to collect comic books and pretty much learn to draw copying things out of them. By the time I hit my teens, I was pretty into heavy metal and punk music. Record covers and poster art, t-shirt art started becoming a big deal for me. I remember there was this used record shop near my high school called Mr. Cheapo's, and I'd basically go to school every day and not eat lunch and just take my money and go buy records instead. So music was a really big deal for me growing up. It was around this time in high school I started discovering hardcore punk and going to hardcore punk gigs, which were having a moment in the early 2000s, I think, particularly where I lived on Long Island. All ages shows were a big thing, so my friends and I, 13, 14 years old, got to go to a lot of gigs from a very early age. Got exposed to a lot of really cool music, and it was an incredible time. Hardcore punk really made an impression on me, just the way that your favorite bands would basically just be booking their own gigs, promoting their own gigs, making their own merch, selling their own merch. That was really interesting to me, and just the shows were just so exciting. Bodies everywhere, people just throwing themselves around the place. It's just an incredible time. So Around 15 years old, I guess I was suddenly moved to Ireland with my family. And that was interesting. We moved to Ennis, County Clare, of all places. So I definitely wasn't thrilled with that decision, but relaxed a lot when I started meeting people in bands and realized I had more friends here into good music than I did in New York. So almost straight away, I met this American guy, Sean, and Sean was in this thrash metal band called Spare. So everybody knew Spare was the best band in town. They'd be playing Slayer and Metallica covers to perfection while everybody else was trying to not fuck up whatever new metal or Oasis riffs they were trying to learn. So Spare basically went to make a record, and they were doing it in a proper studio and asked me to do art, which was maybe 2005-ish. So I think Sean downloaded a pirate copy of Photoshop for me, and I made my first album artwork for Spare's Darkness Rising. And that was a really big deal for me, even though it was awful. And I think it looked like a pixelated video game graphic from the 80s or something. But it was really rough. But the guys were pretty happy with it, and at least they were nice enough to say so. But yeah, I guess that was my first ever job. So after Ennis, I moved to Galway, moved in with my mate Fish. He was friends with the guys in Olympus, so got introduced to them. But at the time, they weren't called Olympus. This is like 2007 maybe. They were called Fubar. And Fubar used to come through our youth center when we were kids. They used to play gigs, and it was always a big deal when Fubar played because the same as Olympus, they were actually legit musicians. Like, they were tight, they were very good at their instruments. And most of us in bands just weren't. So no, it was like watching a legit band play when they come through. And I remember it was a big deal that Rory, their drummer, was 12 years old at the time and just infinitely better than most 18-year-old drummers. They've all always been super talented dudes, and it's amazing that it's actually still the same band to this day, 15 years later. But anyway, I got to know those guys a bit, but didn't really get working with them for another couple of years. I guess when I was in Galway, I was going to a lot of hardcore gigs. I met this guy, Evan. I think people know him as Tebbles. He was in a few bands at the time, got me to do artwork for one of them, the Christ Punchers, and that was probably my first job that I was super proud of. It was a pencil drawing of the band getting eaten by zombies, which I still have somewhere. I actually love that drawing. But yeah, no, I did work for Christ Punchers, did another one of his bands, Them Martyrs, a couple of years later. But it was just kind of hanging out in Galway, not taking anything too seriously. Moved to Dublin for a little while, hung out there. Moved to London. I guess it was around 2010 when Olympus got on to me about doing artwork for them. So they changed the name from Fubar to Olympus at this stage, and their sound had really, really tightened up. They turned into this kind of chaotic hardcore, kind of like Dillinger, kind of Converge kind of vibe to it. I loved it. It was exactly what I was into at the time, so dove into that. And I've been doing artwork for them ever since. It's been a really good experience, and I love what those guys do. I'm a fan, and it's been a privilege to grow with them over the years. Every time they release something, it's they just up their game so much that I feel like I have to up my game. And I've definitely found a lot of myself as an artist in working with them. So a couple of years later, doing work on their next record, The Crossing, and Josh from Olympus is setting up Feast down in Galway with my friend Shane. And the two of them want to book and promote gigs, just wide variety of artists, everything from death metal to math rock and everything in between. So they get on to me about doing poster art for them, and that just turns into a regular thing I start doing. It was a great opportunity to put my art out there, to explore different styles. Not everything was death and doom and gloom. There was some more quirky kind of brighter kind of styles I had to explore with certain bands, and that was a real challenge. But I don't know, I think it made me a better artist. It also opened me up to just, I don't know, I guess the whole Irish scene. Before I knew it, I was doing work for bands and promoters in Dublin and Galway and Cork, Yeah, I don't know. It's been a really cool way to connect with people and to form relationships. You know, I've gone from, I guess, being a fan to just being actively involved in different scenes. You know, but yeah, I don't know. It's a cool job. So I guess the last big project I did was Zora's Mortals, which just came out this week, and I've been so excited about this. It's kind of been in the making for the last, I guess, couple of years, but yeah, it's by far my most detailed work. I think the themes running through Mortals are incredibly dark. Colin gave me a great brief when we started this, and he was very specific that the themes need to be translated through the art. You know, there's addiction, there's abuses of the church, there's suicide. It's just very, very heavy stuff, and I didn't really hold anything back with this. And I think it ended up being my best work to date. You know, the record also happens to be probably my favorite metal release this year. The music and Colin's voice just sound incredible. It's an epic step ahead of anything they've done, and I'd say that as a fan for a long time. You know, just go check it out if you can. So I'm always up for working with new bands. I recently did some work for Worn Out from Cork, who I've been a fan of for a while. That was really exciting. I think we're going to do more stuff together. Rest of Nation out of Dublin, great band, got on to me there about doing a single artwork. They have a new single coming out, which is one of the catchiest heavy tunes I've heard in a while. So really excited about that. On a non-metal trip, my friend Sean, I mentioned earlier, plays in Afrobeat collective called Yankari in Dublin, who draw big crowds. I did single artwork for them recently. Was really excited about that. Bogotono in Galway, great math rock band, put out a great EP there. Baylor in Cork, I'm always doing stuff with those guys. They're just one of my favorite hardcore bands. It's always a privilege working with them. Yeah, so always working with like a wide variety of artists and styles. Yeah, just always looking forward to new projects. So if you want to get on to me, my handle on Twitter is @deadxactress, Instagram.com. Email address jamessheridanart@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Google me, whatever. But yeah, thanks so much, Richie, for having me on, and everyone take care.
And that was the very talented James Sheridan. Thanks very much, James, for coming on the show. Found that interesting that Colin gave James the brief for Mortals, and you know, again, you heard James how happy he was with the brief in relation to themes, concept, lyrics. Colin gave him everything that he required to complete the artwork for the album. Now we've got some music coming up, and it's from Draconius. Just to remind you all again, listeners, that their new album will be released on the 3rd of April, and it's called Blessed by Embers via Hostile Media. So check out all their social media sites. Facebook, hostilemedia.net will be the place to go to buy the album, and I want to wish the lads best of luck with the launch. And this actually is going to be another exclusive for the show, because this song is of Dusk and of Pyre, and I believe this is going to be the next single for Draconius. So enjoy. Absolutely top class. Once again, Draconius and Of Dust and of Pyre. The new album is coming out on Friday. Blessed by Embers. And thank you, Saul, for sending on the track to me. And also, their deluxe box sets have sold out, which is interesting enough. Fair play to everybody that bought them. And keep an eye on social media on Friday for more about the launch. With so many quality t-shirts and artists out there at the moment, the more I think about it, my favourite one of the lot is Zealot Cults, and I have Mick Carey from Zealot Cult talking about how he got in contact with Paolo Girardi.
The way we got to work with Paolo is we were kind of talking about who we get to do the artwork and whatever, and we wanted something more kind of old school, something that was painted.
Yes.
Like a classic old school death metal album cover.
Yeah, cool.
No, the likes of Dan Seagrave and stuff like that is far beyond our fucking reach. Like, cost a fucking bomb to get someone like him.
And Ed Replica was probably...
Replica and all that. Like, and even as still, like, you can see them, they're kind of sneaking digital in there.
They
like,
are, of course, they are,
so
yeah.
Fuck that, like.
Yeah.
So, but Paolo Girardi stuff, like, I have a couple of albums at home, like the Diocletian ones, and he did the artwork on him, and the artwork is absolutely insane. So Jay was up at my house one night and I was going, oh, this guy pulled out the Diocletian cover. Then we started Googling loads of his stuff.
And it's just mind-blowing.
So we were like, fuck it, yeah, we'll contact him. So Jay got in touch with Paolo. He's talking to a couple of other artists as well at the time. I can't remember who they were. But Paolo came back then, like, he goes, yeah, I'll do it for you. So
direct contact, not through record label.
No, direct contract. Yeah, just contact, just hooked up with, like, sent a message on Messenger.
There you go.
That's the glory, the beauty of fucking social media.
Yeah, and let me tell you, for young bands out there, this is a prime example of just going contact the guy directly. Go on, Mick. Yeah. So
he came back and he said he'd do it, and that if we wanted, we could send him lyrics and send him song titles and stuff, and he'll work off of that then. So we sent him a bunch of lyrics, we sent him song titles as well, and he worked away on it. But there's a funny story about the artwork. Like, we set up a group chat on fucking Messenger with Paolo Girardi in it, with the band.
Okay, yeah.
And fucking one of the lads in the band thought it was just a regular fucking band chat or whatever. And a lot of Girardi's work, like, he'd have dicks painted in there and stuff like that. So fucking one of the lads it was actually Alan. Yeah, I'm gonna fucking shame him now here. But Alan goes like, so Paolo Girardi's doing our artwork. He goes, brilliant. He goes, hope there's like fucking loads of cocks all over it. So Girardi then replied back, and Alan didn't even know he was in the chat, and he's like, an apocalyptic landscape full of cocks. He goes, I'll do it. He goes, it'll be fucking amazing. So Alan actually then bounced back out into the actual band chat and go, what the fuck, when did you tell me he was in there? We're like, fuck it. So we got chatting to him then along there, and he's
That's
kind of
fantastic.
Yeah, so he's kind of asking like, what's the concept behind the songs, what are they about? And it's all about religion, it's all about persecution, fucking torture, typical death metal stuff. Yeah, so he based the artwork off of that then. Like,
So it's an original piece.
yeah, he commissioned it. Yeah,
That's mind-blowing,
yeah.
lads.
No,
Jesus
he
Christ.
has the original piece over in Italy. Like,
I know, but I mean, he kind of made that on the information you gave him,
That's
and
it, yeah.
listening to the lyrics
no,
and songs.
he sent us
that's
back
brilliant.
an original draft of it, right? And there was like this. Do you know on the album cover there's like this Inquisitor character? The
Yeah,
kind of
exactly,
in
yeah.
the robe and the hat or whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't originally in there. There was
Right.
like this kind of big fucking barbarian dude with an axe.
Okay.
He was cutting some fella's head
Okay.
off. I thought it looked savage because I was like binge watching Game of Thrones at the time. It was about fucking 4 seasons
Yeah.
in after 2 weeks. You know, so I was going, that's brilliant. And the lads are going like, nah, it looks like fucking He-Man or something like that. So he came back anyway. So the lads aren't kind of going, not happy with that character there. It doesn't tie in
Okay.
with the concept of the album. It's more about kind of fucking mind control or whatever. And
Yeah.
he goes, I get you or whatever.
Right.
So he
Okay.
came back to him with this Inquisitor kind of character.
Yeah.
Like,
It actually works.
yeah,
It works very well.
really good. Like,
Because ultimately it's a collaboration between the band and the artist, and it's working together to get to the final goal, which will be the piece of art representing the band on the album cover, on the t-shirts, you know, the whole side of merchandising that can get cash quickly into a band's coffers is vital, really. And why would you represent it with shit artwork? because this is another reason why I did the show. The scene in Ireland at the moment is absolutely brimming with talented artists out there. Some of them I've mentioned on the show. If you're unsure, I've name dropped plenty of bands as well that have worked with artists. And all you have to do is just contact these bands and they will point you in the direction of an artist that they've used or they know of. And it is vital that you have the right artist working with you to help you get to the next stage, be it an EP or an album or a single, and have the art to represent that music. So there's plenty of artists out there that haven't been mentioned on the show. Get in touch with me if you think you need to be represented. I would gladly give you a promotion. I couldn't get everybody on the show. There's definitely some obvious ones missing, but again, I'll just say the circumstances that we find ourselves in at the moment aren't ideal. Every one of those artists out there need your help. Check out their Facebook pages, their Instagrams. They're easy enough to find, and if you can, buy some of their art. And that's just my opinion. And I think, the scene, the metal scene, we all go on about how great the metal scene is in Ireland, but also the Irish artists that are working out there at the moment are top class and producing quality designs and paintings. So it has to be acknowledged. Just want to highlight that in these 2 episodes that I've had. So I hope it gave some people a lot of perspective into creating a t-shirt. The imagination needed, the collaboration between the artist and the band, and the final step again is getting it out there to the fans, which I used absurd merchandising as a good example for that. So thanks again to everybody for listening to the show. I'm going to leave you with one more track, and it's from, I suppose, a relatively new band. I'm not sure if many of you heard them before. I particularly like them. The name is unusual. It's Dirtbird, spelled D-U-R-T-B-U-R-D. And in the band, they're a 4-piece. It's Jimmy on vocals, Dave on guitar, Jono on bass, and Phil on drums. They hail from Leagueslip, Atboy and Cavan, and they've got I think it's 3 singles out at the moment. Just check them out on YouTube for the singles, and they were all kind of recorded live in what it looks like to be a cool recording studio. Jono, I believe, is the mixing, recording and miking legend with the band. So this is one of those tracks. It's called Shuffle Monkey, and it's a great song to leave the show with. Thanks to everybody for listening, and thanks again to everybody that contributed to the show. And check out everything related to the Metal Cell on www.themetalcell.com, and keep an eye on my social media as well, because there will be more competitions coming through the next few weeks. So that's it. That's Richie over and out. Stay safe, stay positive, and support your local metal scene.
friend.